I'm Richard and welcome to ZP Productions, and today we'll look at the latency of the various cameras here. All these are flagship cameras. Of course, the focus will be on the Z9, but we'll look at the reaction speed of all these cameras when it comes to taking a shot. Now, before I start, I'd like to say that I'm an independent reviewer, so if you like my content, do like and subscribe. And also, if you want to support my channel, do, go to the coffee there and then support me, there. Because most of the equipment is either purchased by me or rented from a independent retailer or rental house, and those cost quite some bit. Now, let's not talk about those anymore, and let's go back to the latency look at these three cameras. Now, the Z9 has a certain claim, and Nikon says that the dual stream technology that they implemented allows you to have almost zero latency when it comes to shooting. The question, is that true, and how does it affect you? So a little bit of specification. The Z9 has, of course, the lowest resolution EVF. However, it runs at 60 FPS only. The Canon has about twice the resolution EVF. It runs at 120 FPS. And the Sony has almost twice the resolution of the Canon, or slightly less than twice. But it runs up to 240 FPS. Of course, it crops down and whatever it is. The thing is that all these FPS is one thing. How fast does the camera react? The latency of those cameras. Now, just to note that human has a certain latency time, and we will capture what we see in the viewfinder. So the latency is really what we see to what we capture, and there is a time to it. There's a lag to it. So let's take a look at those latency numbers later, because I'm going to talk about one more thing on why the Z9 may actually have a smoother experience. Because if you go online and read, some reviewers do say that the Z9, when you use the EVF, feels smoother than the rest. Why is it so? So the thing is, the Canon, when you actually start a burst shot, has a black frame. It has a back frame that comes in very briefly, it flickers, and then it goes on. The A1, when you actually go into burst, you can see in this video here, just stare really close. I'll slow the video down a bit. When the burst happens, you will see that there's a lag. It's like the whole screen jumps a little bit. It's kind of weird, but it happens. And the Z9 doesn't have any of it. No blackout, no jumping. There is some slight movement, but if you stare very intently, the movement is very minimal compared to what you see in the A1, which is quite a big jump when you actually pan the camera around. So that's one of the reasons why using the Z9 may be a smoother experience, because there is no lag when you take a shot. Now, the next thing is the latency itself. How fast does it react? Or should I say, what you see, is it what you get? Now, dual stream technology by Nikon in a nutshell is that you will take the same image, send to the viewfinder, and if you are taking the shot, send to the memory and store it up. Now, I'm unsure how A1 and the R3 does it. Is it done like the same as the Z9, taking one stream and split it up? Or is it done like sequentially? When you look at what you see, when you press, you will take the next frame from the sensor and dump it to the sensor. So these are technologies that nobody reviews, and Nikon was very proud about it. So I guess they must have done something like that. So let's take a look at numbers. So what I did was to shoot this very, very boring stopwatch. Literally boring stopwatch. And I did it many times, 30 over shots per camera. So I did it over and over and over again till I get an average number. Just to note, why I do it so many times is because human has certain reaction time, and depending on how alive are we at that point of time, we can react faster and slower. So I take an average over time, swapping between cameras, and then getting the numbers and averaging up. In a nutshell, if you look at the numbers here, the Z9 does respond the fastest, 230 plus millisecond, while the A1 and the R3 is about 250 millisecond, about close to each other, very close to each other, 250 millisecond, almost flat. So what does it mean is that the Z9, after extensive trying out, taking numbers, does respond slightly quicker, up to about 15 to 20 milliseconds quicker. Now the thing is that, is it very significant? Now, you may think that 250 milliseconds and 230 plus milliseconds is not a big deal, but you must understand the human reaction time. Human reaction time is about anywhere from 150 to 300 milliseconds. I assume that I'm not a very fast guy. I'm in the 200 plus millisecond response time. It means that the Z9 is actually significantly faster than either cameras, at least based on my initial test. So probably I may test it another 30 times to see whether the results change. But at least based on my initial test of shooting numbers for 30 times each camera, it seems that the Z9 does respond significantly quicker. Because after you deduct, let's say we take at 200 milliseconds for my human reaction time, you're looking at 30 milliseconds response time for the Z9 and 50 millisecond response time for the A1 and R3. And if you look at it even more extreme, let's say my reaction time was 220, looking at 10 and 30, which may make a difference if you are trying to catch action shot in the EVF itself, because it does mean that what I see in the EVF, even though at 60 FPS, is exactly what is in the scene, and when I press the shutter, I'm capturing that particular frame itself. And as such, there is almost no lag if I'm doing that. So how does it matter to you? If you are shooting high-speed action, but you're not taking like burst shot over and over again, the Z9 may actually be a better camera for those capturing that moment frozen in time, especially when you do things like flash photography, because you cannot burst in flash, but what you can do is see what is taken and capture the shot. And Z9 may actually excel in that significantly if my numbers are correct. I need more independent testing. While the A1 and R3, if you can burst, they run 30 FPS, they will outrun the Z9 if you are looking at RAW. Now, I did of course do some other tests like buffer depths and whatnot. I can tell you that the Z9, of course, it doesn't go 30 FPS with RAW. You can go with JPEG, but RAW and JPEG is a huge difference to me. I will never use JPEG. And the 20 FPS on the Z9 has certain requirements to actually maximize it, especially in terms of memory cards. I'll talk about it in my next review. And if you are interested, as I say, support me. And see you next time, because that's about it for the latency talk. And if you want me to test any other thing, do write down in the comments below, or support me and write a comment there, and I'll probably prioritize those. So that's about it for today. I hope you enjoyed this little discovery, scientific discovery, I guess. Or is it scientific test? Not so scientific test. But that's about it for today. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.